Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the Frick Art Research Libraries program, Introduction to Site Resources. Thank you for joining us. My name is Angela Tillapaugh, and I am the Interlibrary Loan and Document Delivery Lead here at the Frick Art Research Library. I am joined today by my colleague Joey Vincenti, Reference Lead, who will be assisting with today's program. I am also joined by our captioner, Corbin. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, moving on to our goals for the program. We hope all participants from this program walk away with an understanding of why we cite materials, the importance of clear citations, and an understanding of Chicago Manual of Style and the basics of citing some common resources. Okay, first up, why cite your sources? The first reason is plagiarism, of course. Passing off someone else's work as your own, even unintentionally, is plagiarism, which violates academic integrity policies. Additionally, citing the work of other authors is a mark of respect, honoring their work and contributions to the field of study. The citation section is also an excellent place to locate further reading on a topic. Citing your sources gives the readers a chance to delve further into the subject and inform their own work. This allows for the body of research on a topic to continue to grow, which is, of course, a net positive for the field. In addition to providing readers with further means of research, it also allows the readers a chance to verify your facts and your interpretations of a source that you're presenting in your argument. The ability to verify your work builds trust between you and the reader, which is, of course, a positive. All right, so what do we need to cite in our research? There are a few guidelines to follow and consider when building out your bibliography. The first is that you always cite direct quotes, which is anything that is 2 or more words. Always cite the source when you are paraphrasing or summarizing an idea that's from someone else's work, even if it's not a direct quote. Always cite information that is not considered common knowledge. And this is where things can get a little tricky and are not always black and white. For example, if I am writing an art history paper on James McNeill Whistler's work, Harmony in Pink and Gray, it is not necessary to cite a specific source for information like Whistler's life years or other general information about his life, as this is considered common and easily verifiable knowledge included in multiple resources. But if it's not considered common knowledge in your field of study, it should still be cited. The same general knowledge on James Whistler that does not need citation in an art history paper may require citation in a paper for English literature or another field of study. Yale's Poorvu Center for Teaching and Learning has a wonderful guide on when to cite a research resource that we will drop in the chat if you would like to learn more about this topic. All right, so how do we cite our resources? Citations require a few key pieces of information. Regardless of the format you are using, they all include the title of the work, the author's name, date of publication, and the publisher. If it is a chapter in a book or a journal article that is being cited, the name of the journal and the title of the book are included as well. These are the details that a reader would need in order to easily locate the resource and the article and chapter that you're referencing. The different citation format standards provide us with the roadmap for how this information is organized, allowing readers to easily understand what is being cited. The citation formats used vary by discipline, and the standards of the format are dictated by a professional organization within the discipline. If you are working on a research paper for class, it's important to check with your professor and to know which citation format you should be using. Some of the major citation formats include the American Psychological Association with APA, the Modern Language Association with MLA, Chicago Manual of Style, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers with IEEE, and the Associated Press Style Guide. All right, we are going to move on and talk a bit more about Chicago style today. And I don't mean the pizza, I mean the manual of style. We are focusing on the Chicago Manual of Style today because it is the preferred citation format in the field of art history. It's also the most used citation format outside of academia and journalism. The Chicago Manual of Style, now in its 18th edition, is published online as an online database and as a book. The book and the online database are available in the reading room of the Frick Art Research Library. You can access, when you're in the reading room of the Frick Art Research Library, you can access the database through the library's catalog, which I will show you now. Okay, so here is the catalog for the Frick Art Research Library. You can get to the Chicago Manual of Style database either by entering it right here in the search bar, and you can also access it through the databases tab here, which will bring you to our A to Z database list. You can scroll down to the C's or click C right here, and then click Chicago Manual of Style. This will open up the catalog record, and then under View Online, you can click through right to the Chicago Manual of Style online. One thing about the database that I would like to highlight is the Citation Quick Guide, which is right here up at the top. Then over to the Notes Bibliography Style. And through here, this is a great place to start if you want to verify some quick information about citing resources. And it also hyperlinks out to other sections that go more in depth with citing resources. All right, so Chicago Manual of Style is divided into 3 sections. We have part 1 and part 2 focus on publishing and editing. While we are going to be focusing on part 3 today, the standards for citations, parts 1 and 2 can be a useful resource if you have questions about grammar, syntax, or formatting while you're writing. All right, so how do you cite a resource in Chicago style? Today we are going to discuss the notes bibliography style of citations within the manual. There are also author date style citations, but according to the Chicago Manual style, the notes bibliography style of citations is more commonly used and is generally preferred. The bibliography portion of the notes bibliography method of citing resources is a full list of your research resources organized by the author's last name at the end of your paper. Notes are citations associated with a superscript number within your text and are listed numerically either in the footnotes at the bottom of your page or in the endnotes at the end of your text. Whether you use footnotes or endnotes is up to you. Footnotes are convenient because it allows the reader to easily check the reference while they're reading right at the bottom of the page, but using endnotes does free up space at the bottom of the page by putting them all at the end. Whether you use a footnote or an endnote, it's generally personal preference, but again, if you are writing a paper for class, you should check and see if your professor has a preference. Right, so next I'm going to cover some of the basics for citing the most common types of research resources that you will encounter in your research. While it's not possible for us to cover every facet of Chicago Manual of Style today, this will hopefully give you a good understanding of the overall citation formats. Understanding the basics of the citation formats will be helpful for when you're building out your own bibliography. It is also helpful to have an understanding of the citation formats to decode citations as you come across them in your research, allowing you to locate your needed resources easily. So let's look at how we would cite a recent book published by the Frick Collection called the Frick's Collect. First up, we're looking at a bibliography citation. Bibliography citations are organized alphabetically by the author's last name at the end of the text. They do not include page numbers referenced or correlate with where they are cited within your text. Here you can see that the citation starts with the author's name inverted. Then the title of the book, The Fricks Collect, An American Family and the Evolution of Taste in the Gilded Age, which is in italics, followed by the publisher, and the year of publication comes last. If you have used Chicago style in the past, you may notice a bit of change in how the publisher is cited. In the latest edition of Chicago Manual Style, they no longer require that the city that the publishing house is located in be included in the citation. An important editing note is the hanging indent. The first line of the citation should always be flush with the margin, and the following lines should be indented. This helps visually distinguish the citations from each other in the bibliography. You do not have to include a bibliography at the end of your paper, but it is considered a good practice. Right? As stated previously, the notes and shortened notes are marked by a superscript number within the text, which then correlates with the resource citation given either at the bottom of the page in the footnotes or in the endnotes at the end of your text. Every time a resource is referenced, it receives a unique number and then a numbered citation in the footnotes or endnotes. A note in its standard form is the citation you would use if you were citing a resource for the first time in your text and you are not including a bibliography. As you can see in the example shown, the information is largely the same as the bibliography with slightly different formatting. The author's name is listed with their first name first. The publisher and the publication year are put into parentheses. And then in the end, after a comma, we have the page number for the specific page where the cited information is coming from. A shortened note, as the name might suggest, is a shorter note. Part of the title, the author's first name, and the publishing house and publication year are all dropped. You can use a shortened note when you are citing a resource that you have cited previously in your text, or if you are including a bibliography at the end of your paper, you can use a shortened note for the first citation as well. We do not need to include all of this information in a shortened note and when it's being cited later in the paper, because the rest of the information a reader might need to locate the source is included elsewhere in the paper. Shortened notes allows us to save a bit of space and keep our citations simple. Right. Next up, exhibition catalogs. Chicago Manual of Style guidelines say that exhibition catalogs should be cited like books. You should include the details of when and where the exhibition was held, if there is space in your bibliography. If there is no editor or author included for the catalog, which can be fairly common, Chicago Manual of Style says that you can omit the author entirely and cite the book only by its title. We are going to look at how we would cite the catalog for a recent exhibition of the painter Rachel Rush. Okay, so here are two examples of the bibliography entries. In the top bibliography entry, you can see that the exhibition details are included, specifying that the book was published in conjunction with an exhibition of the same name. If you are short on citation space, though, you can exclude the exhibition details in favor of including exhibition catalog at the end of the citation, as seen in the example at the bottom of the slide. Also of note is that this book has 3 authors. In a bibliography entry, you can include up to 6 authors, but only the first author needs to be listed with their name inverted. All right, and now the notes. In a note citation for a book with 3 or more authors, only the first author is listed, followed by a all, which is Latin for and others. In a note, you can include exhibition catalog after the title rather than at the end. We put the publisher in parentheses, followed by the number of the page that's being cited at the end. For the shortened notes, the author's last name is included, an abbreviated title of the book, and the page number is cited. There is no need to include any mentions of the books being cited being an exhibition catalog in the shortened note. All right, next we are going to look at citing an auction catalog. This is where things are a little bit trickier because the Chicago Manual of Style has not published any guidelines for how these types of resources should be cited. A LibGuide published by the Sotheby's Institute of Art Library, which Joey is going to drop in the chat if you're interested, suggests citing these resources as books and using the name of the auction house holding the auction as the corporate author. Here is an example of how a catalog would be cited in the bibliography. Sotheby's New York is included as the author. Including the city is important for an auction house like Sotheby's that would have multiple locations throughout the world. The title of the catalog, the Evelyn Sharp Collection of Modern Art, is listed in italics, followed by Sotheby's as the publisher as well, the year of publication, and the note that this is an auction catalog. If needed, you could include the full date of sale to ensure a researcher could locate the catalog again. This might be helpful in an instance where the title of the catalog has a more vague title, such as Old Master Paintings, in which there might be multiple sales in 1 year at that auction house that all share the same title. Here are examples of the notes and the shortened notes. After the title, put a note that the book is an auction catalog, similar to our example with an exhibition catalog. The publisher and the date are now in parentheses, and the page number for the citation is included last. The shortened note lists just the auction house and partial title of the book, and the page number is cited as well. All right, moving on to citing a book chapter. To clarify, this type of citation only applies in instances where we are citing a chapter from an edited book, where there are multiple chapters by multiple authors, and there is an editor or editors for the overall publication. An example we are going to look at citing a chapter from a book on early modern fashion. So here is an example of a bibliography citation for a book chapter. We include the name of the author with their last name first, as we are used to seeing now for a bibliography citation. The title of the chapter, which is Making a Reputation from Innovation, Silk Designers in Lyon, is included in quotations, followed by the title of the book that the chapter is in, which here is Fashioning the Early Modern, in italics. After the title of the book, the name of the editor is included, and they are specified as the editor of the overall publication. And the citation then ends with the publisher and the year of publication. The note for the edited book is similar to the bibliography entry. Instead of listing edited by Evelyn Welch, as we did previously, it is abbreviated to just Ed Evelyn Welch to save a bit of space in our footnotes or endnotes. The note ends also in a page number at the end of the citation for the specific page where the information that we are citing is coming from. For a shortened note, which can be used if you are including a bibliography or if you have already cited the resource once with a full note earlier in your paper, it is simplified to the last name of the author of the chapter, an abbreviated title of the chapter in quotations, and the page number. Okay, next, we are going to look at citing an article from a journal. Similarly to the book chapter, citations for journal articles require information about the article and the publication where it was published. It is important to always include the volume number and issue number to ensure a researcher can easily locate the article within the journal. If you access the resource online, you should include a permanent link to the article or the name of the database where you accessed it at the end of your citation. Right, so here are some examples. The bibliography entry includes the author, listed with their name inverted, like usual. The title of the article is included in quotation marks, followed by the title of the journal, which in this case is Burlington Magazine in italics. Following the title of the journal, we list the volume number and then the issue number. The publication year is included in parentheses after a colon, and then after a colon, the page range for the full article is listed. In the note, the formatting is similar, but the author is listed first name first. And instead of listing the full page range for where the article is found, only the page or pages that are being cited are included in the note. The shortened note shortens the author's name to just their last name. The article title is also shortened, and the volume and issue numbers are omitted since this information can be found either in a note or in the bibliography. All right, so moving on from looking at some examples, we're going to have a chance to utilize some of the knowledge that we've learned. All right, so I need your help with my James McNeill Whistler paper on harmony in pink and gray. I want to cite some information about Whistler that I located in the Fricks Collect. It is information that I found on page 115. I will be including a bibliography at the end of my paper, but it is the first time that I am citing this resource in my paper. Based on this information, which of the following citations do you think I should use? Should I use either A, which is a full bibliography entry, B, a shortened note, or C, a note? And I'll give everyone a moment to read through these and make their decision. If you answered B or C, you are correct. If you are including a bibliography like I am for my Whistler paper, you can use a shortened note as seen in option B, even at the first mention of a resource. Since it's the first time I am citing the resource, it's also fine to use option C, which is a note. Right. A quick note on citation managers, which are programs that can help you keep track of your resources that you are consulting in your research, making it easy to compile all of your citations at the end. Zotero is a free and open access citation manager, and the Frick Art Research Library has a recorded series of programs available online that goes over how to use Zotero and its various features. We're dropping a link to that program series into the chat now. If you would like to learn more about Zotero and how to use it, that's a great place to start. Great. I'm just going to share a few final thoughts on citations and everything that we've talked about today before we can move on to the Q&A. So first, Chicago Manual of Style is not intended to be prescriptive, and not every type of resource or use case can be captured. Think of Chicago Manual Style as a toolkit that's here to help you and support you build clear and concise citations when you're doing your research. The priority is ensuring clarity, consistency, and that all of the needed information is present in order for a researcher to locate the needed resource. Also remember that the Frick Art Research Library is here to help, from navigating the Chicago Manual of Style database or helping you locate resources. We are here to help you in your research. We're going to answer questions next, but if any questions arise after today's session, please reach out to us, and we'll drop our contact information for the library into the chat. All right, thank you again for joining us today. I am happy to answer any questions now. You can drop them into the Q&A feature that is in the Zoom toolbar.
All right, thank you so much, Angela. That was great. And it looks like someone has asked a question. So the question is, I found paintings that have only been published online for auction houses. How do you cite them?
Oh, that is a very good question. If there are images that you found online in the publication, they were published and made by the auction house, I believe that you would cite them as if they were an image. There's some guidelines available in the Chicago Manual of Style, and you would need to include a link to where you located those images online.
Thanks so much for that answer, Angela. All right, we have another question. If I find a photo of a work of art in an exhibition catalog, do I have to cite the photographer too? Thank you.
Oh, that's also a great question. I believe, I think it really depends on the scenario, but if you found it in an auction catalog, it's likely that the photographer in that case was an employee of the auction house, in which case you would only need to cite the catalog. But you can always reach out to us too as well. We can maybe help point you to some resources that can help answer that question.
Apologies if I misspoke, Angela. They were referencing an exhibition catalog.
Oh, an exhibition catalog. Okay. Oh, that is a good question. If it's in an exhibition catalog, I think it really varies depending on the specific nature of the photograph and who took it. But I think in many instances, if it's included in the exhibition catalog, you would just cite the exhibition kit as being from the exhibition catalog.
All right, thank you, Angela. We have another question. Lots of questions about images. A painting is titled by an auction house, but is a made-up name. Should I put a correct description in it?
That is also, these are really, really good questions. I think that whatever title you think would make it easiest for someone to locate it, whatever seems to be the most consistent title would be the best title to cite it by. So, and if you're using an image that was assigned a title by an auction house, using the title that they gave it for the sake of consistency is probably best.
Um, oh, we do have another question. If you use foreign scripts, do you still need to transcribe it to the European alphabet?
That is a good question. I am not sure about that one actually. All of my knowledge and of resources generally comes from the Chicago Manual Style, which I think primarily deals with English publications. But I would have to say I would assume that citing it in whatever language it was in, so including the title, the way that the title appears, and how it appears in a library's catalog is probably the best bet.
Um, I think that was the last question. But as Angela mentioned, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to just reach out to us at library@frick.org or give us a telephone call. We also offer research consultations, so we can talk more about your research or any citation questions that you might have. So Angela, I'm going to pass it off to you to have the last word. So thanks so much.
Thank you all again for joining us. And thank you to my colleagues at the Frick Collection and for our captioner Corbin as well for supporting today's program.